Rev up your engines!
Sakurai says, hey Scotty, I'm thinking about buying a sporty drift weekend toy around 10 grand. What's your suggestion? Well, it depends on what you want to drift around with, 10 grand isn't that much for speed machines, but if you want to spend that kind of money and for a weekend toy to drift, get a Mustang. You can't beat that. Get a V8 Mustang with a standard transmission and they drift quite well. That was the one problem with them, was they'll spin easy because they got so much power and the weight's in the front, not in the back. But you want to spin, a Mustang would be a good one for that. Make sure you get the V8. The 6s are a little, they're not as good, but you get a good V8 one. There's plenty of Mustangs out there with a standard transmission, and you can drift to your heart's content with one of those. Generally, the Japanese rear-wheel drive ones, there's not that many of them, and people like them, and they cost a lot more, where you can get plenty of Mustangs to fool around with. Dimitri Board says, hey Scotty, I'm a college student. I need a reliable, cheap car. I'm looking to keep insurance done. Any suggestions, and where should I look for it? You want a reliable, cheap car. You can't beat something like a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic. You're going to get an older one if you want a cheaper one. And Craigslist is a good place to start looking because, of course, if you go to the car lots, they generally charge 2 to 4 times what they paid for a vehicle when they're selling you a used car at a professional dealer. So you kind of want to stay away from them. But, of course, now you never know, depending on the area you live in. Say you live in an area where there's a lot of old people and they can't drive anymore, they die, or they go to an old folks home, they can't have a car. There's nothing wrong with getting, like, a 15-year-old Ford or something that doesn't have that many miles on it, and you get it cheap. You try to find one of those if you can't. If you can't find a Toyota or a Honda. A lot of people will do that. From 300 says, Scotty, I got an 01 Lexus ES 300, and the paint clear coat is chipping. Any cheaper way to fix it? If the clear coat is coming off, and you still got good paint underneath, you can try to re-clear coat it. Buff it all off really well first, and try to re-clear coat it, and you're going to get it as good as you can without spending a fortune. The problem is, the human eye can see all kinds of gradation of color. All cars these days, they have a paint base, and then the clear coat makes it shine. Even if you buff off the area where the clear coat is chipping and then re-clear coat it, it's almost impossible to get the same layer of clear coat because some of the edge is going to have thicker one, some of it's going to have thinner, and your eye can see that reflecting off. Your eye's going to be able to see that, but that's the best thing you can do, is to buff off the bad parts and then try to re-clear coat it as good as you can. It won't be totally perfect, but it can look better. The only way to really do it is to pay a pro, if the paint is still good, to just take off the clear coat that's on it, get down to the base coat, and then re-clear coat the whole thing. Because clear coat is clear coat, it's clear. You can match it. If the paint's still good and you do a whole fender, it'll look the rest of the car because the base coat is what's the color, but you still would have to do the whole fender because you're never going to be able to get one layer on top of another perfectly. It's pretty much impossible to do. Outer Art says, hey Scotty, I just bought a 67 Dodge Dart sedan. Any opinions on darts? It starts up, but it dies as I'm driving. Do you have any idea what the problem could be? Those are cool old cars. The new Dodge Darts are a joke. They're not a Dodge Dart. They're some kind of funky Fiat with Fiat engines and transmissions. They're pieces of junk. People have class action suits against Chrysler for them. They're horrible cars. But those old ones are cool. Now, since you say yours starts up but it dies when you're driving, it's old as the hill. And the odds are your gas tank is all rusted and you're either going to have to clean it out or replace it. What you want to do is take the fuel filter out. And if you see there's rust particles in it, go get another gas tank for it. Because once rust starts, rust particles are real small and tiny. And the filters can't even filter it all out. And then they'll start clogging up your carburetor. And you'll have to keep taking it apart and putting it together. I did that when I was a kid. The first car I ever had was an Opel. It had a rusty gas tank, but I was cheap. I wasn't going to buy a gas tank. So I kept changing the filters. And every couple of months, I'd just take the carburetor apart. And then I'd clean the rust out and put it back together again. I mean, I was really cheap. And I drove it years that way. But most people ain't going to do that these days. It's too much headaches for them. Daniel Fitch. I got a 2010 Ram 2500. The back right caliper keeps locking. I changed the caliper, pulled the ABS fuse, and it's still doing it. If it's locking up, first thing you want to do now is change the rubber brake hose that goes to that caliper, because what can happen is they can collapse inside the rubber. So when you hit the brake, there's thousands of pounds pressure pushing that fluid to shut it down. But when you take your foot off the brake, there's only a little suction pulling it off. And if that brake hose is collapsed, it'll stick on. That's what it is most of the time. Because let's say you had a bad master cylinder, the master cylinder sends fluid to both back ones, so if the right one was sticking, the left one should stick too. So it's probably just the hose has gone bad. They're changed that. It's an easy fix if it is.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.